In studio guest today, the guy sitting next to me is Richard Tomlin. He's with Apex Auto Works, and he does kind of like this radio show does. He does lots of things, and most of them auto-related when he's out and about away from the house. So welcome to the show.
Welcome. Appreciate it.
Get nice and close to it.
Yeah.
Got to get
Love that microphone.
Closer. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So it's good to see you.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know when the last time you were here. I guess it's been a while, huh?
When was that? November? October,
Was it?
November?
It seems like decades.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing.
Well,
Come back more often.
Right, exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit today about an event that Richard's got coming up. We're also going to talk about some new sauce that he's concocted that will help in the garage. We're going to talk about the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona that happened last weekend.
Correct.
And we're going to talk about the Mexico Chihuahua Express.
Chihuahua.
Coming up quick.
Yeah, the Chihuahua. Some people may call it the Chihuahua, but we call it Chihuahua here.
Open road racing
Open road racing.
in Mexico.
In Mexico, where it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
As opposed to a lot of the people here in Houston that go Mexico racing, except they're running down Beltway 8 or...
Yeah, the Mexico Racing League.
you know,
They've done well.
do they? Is it just pothole filled? Used to be roads, or how is that?
It's interesting. So the roads we race on in Chihuahua, some of them are the original asphalt from 1949. The roads are on such a rock base down there and lack of rain. The roads just last and last and last.
Really?
They're very smooth. Now you get in some spots where you'll find some gravel. They're not very disciplined about staying in their lane in regular traffic. So around some of these tight corners, you'll have a bunch of pea gravel on the inside. And that's where we Americans usually make mistakes because we're taking the apex through the corner. We pick up the gravel, we slide all the way outside and into a large concrete, well, just rock wall, mountain wall.
Nice.
So be very careful around the apexes.
Yeah.
Either that or the construction companies here in the United States realize if they build in obsolescence, they stay in business.
Absolutely.
So every
Good business
7 to
model.
8 years, the road goes bad and they have to replace it. Because if they built a road that lasted forever, they wouldn't have to do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. You all live in Houston. You know what we're talking about.
Yeah. And many of you live out 290. There's a highway. Or how about the Gulf Freeway that's never been finished? It's never been finished.
And never will be.
Never will be. They're working on it somewhere. And then there's I-10. Well, we could go on and on. Just list any of them.
keeps going, yeah.
makes no difference. So I don't know. He's given me these wonderful notes to talk about, and some of them I had to ask many questions and still don't understand them.
And they were typed, not handwritten.
I
So it's even
realize
better.
that. Yes, I know. So it's a definite Don Armstrong test today. And I'm not exactly sure where we should start. I know that you have a particular order here, but I don't.
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay. So while we're on the subject of the Mexico Chihuahua Race Express,
Yeah.
when is that thing?
Thing is, April 4th is when it starts. So April 4th, 5th, and 6th.
So it's a 3-day race.
3-day race, run in a rally-style format.
What does that mean?
So each day will have individual stages. Day one's like 26 stages. Day two's like 34 stages. So you run a...
What makes up a stage?
Stage can be anything from a 5-mile stint to sometimes a 65-mile stage. So you're given a time frame to complete a transit, and then your next stage would be what's called a speed stage. Speed stage is usually the shorter ones. I think the longest one we've got is about 55 miles, but it is flat out how fast can you go down this paved public road that's closed off. They have a federale that closes off every highway, every driveway that comes into the road. They close it off. They run about 10, 15 minutes. They run a sweep car. They turn us loose, and away we go. And
How many cars are let loose?
one every minute. So we put a minute between cars.
So it's not like an automobile race on a circle track where everybody 33 cars go in
At the same time, no. It's we line up, and they release the first car. As he crosses checkpoints, then we know that everybody's good, It's 1 minute release per car.
So this is like Isle of Man for cars in Mexico.
Correct.
So they release you one at a time, so they give you distance as you're running flat out, but you can catch the guy or fall back into the guy behind you.
That's when you know you're successful, is when you catch the car in front of you. That's when you celebrate and you get all the butterflies inside, blood pressure goes through the roof, adrenaline's flowing.
But wait a minute. I mean, so you've got the Corvette and I've got the Mitsubishi Mirage. It doesn't take a math scientist to know that your car is faster than mine.
You qualify on Thursday, and fastest cars go first. So if you catch somebody, you should not catch anybody. But when you do, you know either they've had a problem or you've done something really well.
Or you've done something really bad, I guess.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to wrap my mind around this.
Because if you think about the races we have in the United States, out in Nevada, and a few places like that, they're time trials. If you're in the 150 mile an hour class, then you should be able to cover this amount of territory in a certain time. You either go under, you go over, that kind of thing. And you're literally talking about just whatever you got.
As fast
Run
as
what
you can go.
brung, just as fast as you can.
As strong as you are.
It's hard to imagine that.
It's very different.
As big a set of cojones as you can carry.
The closest
very
thing,
different.
if you've watched any of the WRC, World Rally Championships on TV, WRC only shows you the speed stages. And that's what I'm talking about when we do in Mexico. It's the same thing. But they don't show you the transit stage because it's not as glamorous, right?
Right.
So basically what you're seeing WRC is what we do, but it's on asphalt roads.
What is a transition? What is the speed in a transition? I don't know.
Public posted speeds.
So a transition, you only go as fast as the speed limit says.
Yes, because we're being recorded.
So in that case, what happens is the organization goes out and times between A and B and says that should take you 18 minutes and 45 seconds to do. Your objective is to do it in 18 minutes and 45 seconds.
Correct. So you're supposed to be there before X time.
So it's a little bit like the road races we have in this country in pieces.
Rally races.
Yes, rally races.
Yeah, and then it just
it's a mix of many amazing things with cars.
And these are obviously very well-educated, college-educated guys, because I know absolutely nothing about this and how it works and how it's set up. So this transition thing that's done at the speed limit is to transition you from a race section to the next race section.
Correct. Moves you from one to the next.
Bing!
Now you got it.
Kind of.
And you've also got to get gas and deal with traffic and stop signs and
Where do you get
stoplights.
gas? On this transition stage?
On the transits, correct.
Beans to get you some.
Plenty of those down there. It's all sponsored by Pemex. Pemex is our fuel sponsor, so you stop at any local Pemex station, which is all they have down there, and they're laid out and put in the route book, so you actually know where the gas stations are. You plan that the night before.
So I've got a 700 horsepower V8.
Correct.
Okay?
Yep.
All right, 700 horsepower V8 that probably top speed is, let's just give it 200 miles an hour. Okay?
Okay, I'm with you.
All right. So I'm going to throttle that thing back to make it do 50 miles an hour in this transit section, as you call it.
Yep.
But then when we get to the all-out full tilt section, I'm going to nail it, and if I got a long straightaway, I could get it up to 200 miles an hour.
Correct.
Oh,
absolutely.
My God. On a Mexican road.
They're
I'm
amazing.
trying to wrap my mind
They're like
around.
our interstates. Now, you get back onto some up in the mountains are not quite as good, but some of the most pristine roads I've raced on are in Mexico. One of the cars 3 years ago now, maybe 4, was clocked at 186 mile an hour.
So how far into Mexico are we talking about? Because I haven't seen any roads like that.
Chihuahua is about
it's
3 hours.
Laredo.
Chihuahua is about 3 hours away from the border. So
south of where on the border?
Alpine. Everybody knows where Alpine is, Big Bend National Park.
Okay.
Right.
Directly south of that 3 hours is Chihuahua, and it sits around what's called the Copper Canyon. It's basically their Grand Canyon
I've heard
of
Copper
Mexico.
Canyon, yeah.
So that's where we go across.
So, and part of the program is you have to have a car that can go 200 miles an hour, but it also has to be streetable so it can go 35 or 40 miles an hour. You can't just bring an all-out race car. You have to bring a car that can do both.
Many people fail with that theory right there. They bring too much race car, not enough street car. And if something breaks, you got to be able to fix it. It's 3 days, and a race is going on while you break. You've got to. The race is going to stop for you. You got to fix it and catch up.
And if you win the race, you're instantly institutionalized for mental health because you've made it and you won it.
$1 million pesos.
But
not even that.
About $1.75.
No, it's a nice medal with a ribbon around it. I mean, that's
and bragging rights
for the next year.
For the next
you get
year
it for 1 year
because this only happens
once a year.
Once a year. Okay.
It's great. You need to come with us. We'll
God.
change your life.
No, yes, I will
that's
change
what I'm
my
sitting
life.
Here thinking, how much
It will
video
probably
gear can
end
we
my
go
life.
and-
We'll put you in one of the new Volsters.
No, I'm good.
No.
I'm good. I'll sit back and watch you zip by.
We have a great time.
You don't do this as a single person in the car. Do you carry a navigator?
You're required to have a navigator.
And that navigator, that conversation's kind of unique.
It's very fun. It's very
I'll
fun.
bet.
You've got to have somebody you really
Slow
trust.
down!
It does happen.
Oh my God!
The last year, the navigator that I had was actually able to make it one stage before he had to remove his helmet to vomit. He's actually navigated for me before, but this year we were going at such a more of a brisk pace. He actually got motion sickness from it.
A brisk
Brisk.
And at what speed do you classify brisk?
Yeah, let's define our terms here.
It's all relevant to the corner, right? So straightaway speed, my car's only like 140 mile an hour.
Okay.
Let's just use a comparison. A Miata's a good cornering car. If a Miata can do a corner at 45, my car with the Aero can do it about 70.
Okay.
It's enough to make some people's heads spin.
Well,
And the windows don't roll down, so he can't just puke out the window. He's got to.
No windows on this one, but yeah.
well, Mars,
It was the full face helmet that was the issue.
I can see where
Open face helmet would have come in handy.
Yeah, you need an open face for that.
Well, a question would be, do people run Jeeps in this?
I have not seen any Jeeps out there. There are Jeeps used for support vehicles because sometimes they'll crisscross areas where we can't go in the cars because the roads snake around the canyon.
they're trying to get ahead.
They'll
To
use
get
their
ahead.
Jeeps to
For
get
sport.
ahead.
Yeah.
Or provide service. We have doctors in those as well.
Well, Travis Daines is on Facebook, and he says he may want to run it in a Jeep, and he just needs to have a Jeep prepared for it.
Yeah.
Bring it, Travis.
Come down.
Yeah,
Let's talk about it.
Get
We'll
a
see what we can
Hellcat
do.
engine and slip it into a Wrangler and come
amazing.
on down.
Well, speaking of Jeeps, we have an in-depth review of the Jeep Renegade. And Mr. Mars is going to do that. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today here on the In Wheel Time radio program. And a reminder to download our mobile app, ESPN 97.5. And that way you can catch us on the run.
Had to catch yourself to make sure you got it right.
Well, there's that. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this craziness down in Mexico.
I know. I'm trying to visualize how we can take this Renegade down.
You know, at
there.
the end of the day, there's got to be a lot of tequila consumed because that's what I would be doing, trying to soothe the nerves. But there's that. We got more of the In Wheel Time radio program coming back.